everyone doing? Good. Well, I'm happy to be here and honored to have the privilege of talking to you guys about strategic life plans. I don't even see this as a workshop, it's more of an excuse for me to talk to you guys about life, right? And for us to share our stories and inspire one another and think about like how we do this thing called life and what we're trying to get out of it, and kind of my journey and some of the tools that I've been using to try to find purpose and point my life in a certain direction. And so happy to share that with you all, and then also hopefully hear from you, input, comments you have, questions you have. And so let's just have fun, have a discussion, and be inspired on this rainy day. So cool, awesome. So want to really start quickly. I want to kind of get a sense of who's in the room. So we'll go around really quickly. Just, what's your name and kind of why are you here today? All right. So we'll start with this.
My name is Justin Miles, and I'm here today to look past just the next couple of years in terms of a life plan, but also glean some skills because I work with a lot of people who are interested in bigger life questions and being able to help them too.
My name is Perry Griffith. I am here because I'm pretty new in Tulsa. Been here a couple of months, and my main motivation was I'm kind of interested in possibly making like a career change. So I've been trying to think about how to go about that.
Vernon Andrews. I'm here with kind of doing what, forget your name?
Justin.
Justin.
Yeah.
That's it. Glean from this because of the vision where I want to go personally and professionally.
I'm Timothy. I'm here because I have some pretty ambitious and well-set career plans and professional plans, but I haven't been spending as much time on my personal life plans. So I'm curious to work on that.
I am Julie Griffin, and I'm here because I've kind of started digging into this topic of life planning and time management stuff for about a year and a half, and always trying to get better at it.
I'm Jacob. Pretty similar, just looking for kind of career and personal focus.
I'm Abby Marino, and I am here because I work with fellows and students about their life plans and like to help, but then also want to figure out my own life plan beyond just the next couple of years.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Mayloff, and I'm here because I've always been in one career, and I think that it might be time to deviate. And so I'm just interested to learn kind of the thought process behind what I can do. So.
Hi, I'm Dominic Thompson, and I am on my second half of my life give back part, I'm hoping, and I'm getting my certification in health coaching. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to help me get focused on that and decide how I can step into it and also help my clients going forward with their life decisions.
Hi everyone, my name is Hessiana Curiard, and I'm here because I often feel like I have just so much going on that I have to take like just one day at a time, and looking ahead, I'm just like, I can't even deal with that. I'm just gonna make it, and so I think this will be really, really helpful for me to just get a sense of my life, and then I'm also here for support for my coworker.
I'm Paige Kennedy, and yes, Hasi is one of my stakeholders. I have a personal strategic plan that's actually due for my graduate program today at 5:30. Don't worry, I've already started. Don't worry. So basically what I'm hoping is that I don't want to change the whole thing after I leave. But no, I've got my values and my DHAGs. So I'm just excited to learn something new from this and be able to adjust to my plan. It's my very last class in my graduate program, so it's coming at like a really great time.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm Mark Ross, and about a year and a half ago, I embarked on a change of career. And I feel like I'm pretty well grounded in terms of what my own personal plan is, but I don't articulate it very well with important stakeholders, my wife and kids. And I'm thinking about trying to really create something that they can participate in, which will help our family to be able to really move through a transition that we're in right now through my career change. And it has to be relatively nimble because that's unknown for me at the moment. But that's why I'm here. I always enjoy hearing what people are doing in this area because it's just interesting to learn something new as you hear people how they're navigating it.
Awesome. Had somebody walk in, just your name and why are you here?
Okay, so I'm Nancy Moore, and this class looked interesting. I just joined 36 Degrees North about 2 weeks ago, and so I'm taking a whole barrage of classes, and I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Welcome, welcome. And lastly, I'm putting you on the spot, you just walked in. So kind of your name and why you're here.
My name is Abu Kabam, and I'm here because I just really want to learn from somebody who's passionate about what he does.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. I am no expert. Let's just put that, from the jump. And so I just kind of want to share my story. And I've read a lot of books and tried to get a lot of ideas from different people, and taken a lot of that. So a lot of this information has come from me, pulling from all over. And I think I really kind of started this journey maybe when I was 20. In 2006. I'm 32 now. And so it's been quite a journey. So what we're gonna do, I'm first gonna kind of share my story so you know who I am. I've already kind of shared a lot of intimate, life details with you guys. So I wanna be vulnerable and I wanna, share and then kind of share my beliefs. And really what life planning is about is kind of like, what do you believe in? Believe in who do you believe yourself to be, right? And how does that shape where you want to go, and how you think about it, and what you want to accomplish. And then we'll go over some of the tools, what I call the blueprint, the path, and the schedule that I use to anchor me. And then hopefully we'll be able to give you some time quiet time to think about your own life, and where you want to go in the context of some of the tools, and maybe replicate some of those things and ideas for your life and what you're thinking. And then also want to have some time at the end for Q&A. But also know that throughout this whole workshop, you're free to ask whatever questions come to mind. I'm going to really try to stay on time. We're probably going to run out of time anyway, but we're just, going to go with it, right? So I just want us to be loose and free and get the wheel spinning. All right? Sound good? Awesome. So, some quotes for the road ahead. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It's a quote I love by Benjamin Franklin, which says basically, a lot of times we don't plan, we don't like planning, but if you don't plan, you're really planning to fail. Or the quote that I have up here from Yogi Berra, if you don't know where you're going, you might wind up someplace else. Quirky. And then also, wonderful quote I love by Miles Monroe, who I consider to be kind of my spiritual father. Says the greatest tragedy in life is not death, but a life without a purpose. And then Oprah says you don't get what you want in life, you get what you are. And then lastly, time is the currency of life. How much of yours are you willing to spend on what you want to become? All right. So I chose these because one, we want to kind of understand the importance of planning, and planning is necessary to give us a direction for where we're going. Knowing that, there's a quote about, you make your plans and God laughs. We plan and God laughs. But I believe, you plan and you aim for something, and then you're flexible enough knowing that if I have a plan, I'm actually going somewhere, then I can be directed, right, on that path. Right? It's better to have a plan than not have a plan. And also, like, you get to a point where you realize that you don't want to move through life aimlessly, right? And that's the true tragedy, when you don't have this sense of purpose and you just feel like life is controlling you rather than you controlling the circumstances of your life. And I think that's really deep down what we all want. We want to have some sense of control about our life and not feel like we're at the mercy of the world, of other people. And so I think, this journey helps us to be able to do that. And then also knowing that this is not even about like just what we want, but knowing that it's about becoming who we want to be, right? And that this process of thinking about our lives makes us better people, and then we are able to attract what we want. And then it's all about time, in a sense of like time is a currency of life. And how are we spending our time? What are we doing? What are the actions and behaviors we're engaging in to be able to control the path and the journey? Cool. So really quickly, I'm going to go through this really fast. Share my story of my life so far in pictures. All right. Also, even as I'm doing this, I want you to also be thinking about like yourself. So even through the documents that we'll go through, or even sharing my story, I want you to be thinking about if you have to share your story in pictures. And I think I want you to do this. This is great for you to do in terms of go home and just find pictures of yourself. Or ask your mom or your dad or parents, whoever, right? Pictures from your earliest stages up until now that kind of define every stage of your life, right? And trying to understand, searching your soul is about searching your story, right? And so if you don't know where you come from, it's going to be hard to know where you're going, right? And so retracing those steps. So for me, when I read this quote, when I was, I think I was about 19 or 18 years old, it said, the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. I became obsessed with this because I was like, well, that first day has already happened. I've been born, right? Now, what's that next day of finding out why, right? And even this question of purpose. And I remember being in college and being obsessed and asking everybody, what does purpose mean, right? And then, reading Webster's definition and saying, what does it really mean? And so I've been obsessed with this question of purpose. Okay, let's see if I can get through this in 5 to 10 minutes. So this is me as a baby. My name is Kojo Asamoa-Caesar. My mom, Felicia. I was probably, first day I was born in Alexandria, Virginia. My mom was an immigrant who immigrated from Ghana, West Africa. She was one of 9 siblings in Ghana. She was born in 1960. Growing up in Ghana, America was the land flowing with milk and honey, right? It was heaven. It was better than heaven because you didn't have to die to come here, right? And if you can get here, you had it made. So she went to school, tried to get really good grades. She had a dream of becoming a doctor. She graduated from university in Ghana, put her name up for this visa lottery and won. And so she was able to come here at the age of 23 to pursue her dreams. She met my dad, who was also from Ghana. They met in Alexandria, Virginia, right outside of DC. They had me. I came along 3 years later when she was 26. They weren't married. They got separated. So when I was born, my dad wasn't around. My mom's dream was very specific. She wanted to be a doctor. My dad's dream was general. He wanted to be rich, right? He had seen the commercials and the movies with Americans in the back of limousines sipping champagne, right? He wanted a piece of that action. And so my mom gets here and realizes that her credits didn't transfer from Ghana. So she kind of has to start over again. So she has to take community college classes, and then she's working 2 jobs and caring for me. My dad is not in the picture. It's tough because I'm not the easiest baby to care for. I don't like going to daycare and all that stuff. So she has a big family back home in Ghana, so they're like, why don't you just send him back to Ghana? He can live here, learn the language, grow up around his cousins and aunties and uncles, and then when he's old enough to fend for himself, he can return to the States. So So at the age of 2, I was shipped off to Ghana, West Africa, Accra. So that's me at a wedding from one of my aunties. So I grew up in Ghana, which is great. Can you guys, which one is me? Can you guys see? Can you guys see okay?
The
We need
one
to
in
turn
the
off the
middle?
light. Are we good?
Are you the one in the middle?
Yep, right there. Yeah, on my Urkel swag. And then I'm the one looking away in that. So grew up with my, many cousins in Ghana. And this was the day that I was set to leave at the age of 10 and a half, leave Ghana and return to the United States. And so I'm standing next to one of my good friends from school, and then my cousin who was like a brother to me. So I lived with my auntie and her 4 siblings, and I became the 5th sibling. She, took me in like her own. So I returned. So I'm in Ghana. We're playing soccer. This is before I come here. We're playing soccer outside. I get called inside, and I have to talk to my auntie, and there's this other lady that's come to see us, and my auntie tells me that, hey, Caesar, that's what I was called from Ghana, you're gonna be going back to the United States with, your auntie. Everybody who's not your mom or dad is your auntie or uncle. And whatnot. So it was very interesting, where it's like, okay, Kojo, you're gonna be going to America, right? The land flowing with milk and honey. And I was like, okay, cool. And I go back to my friends, we're playing soccer, and I go tell them, like, hey, I'm about to go to America, It was this interesting moment where, on the one hand, I should be really excited about going to America, but on the other hand, I'm like, I'm gonna have to leave everything and everybody that I know here. And then you start thinking about why was I even in Ghana to begin with and whatnot. And my favorite movie at the time was Coming to America. Not Coming to America. It was Home Alone, right? Home Alone. And my auntie explained to me that in America you can't be left home alone, or that's what's gonna happen. So that's why you came to Ghana. And so I remember coming back to the States and saw my mom, and then trailing my mom when she entered through the door was a little girl, turned out to be my sister, my half-sister, different dad, same mom. And I was like, how come she could stay? But Vivian is my sister. I came back when I was 10 and a half. She was 4 years old at the time. And so grew up, came back in the middle of 5th grade in Northern Virginia. Grew up, this is my best friend, Oheneba from Ghana. He also came to the States, and we were buddies. And this is my sister, Vivian, and one of my other cousins, Bridge. Went to high school at Annandale High School in Northern Virginia, which was named the most diverse high school in the nation at the time, in 2004 when I graduated. My mom, so as I was about to enter high school, my mom, she was a few credits away from getting her degree in clinical technology. And she came home one day and she just collapsed. And she had just suffered a stroke. She was only 40 years old, so she came here at age 23, and at 40 she suffered a stroke. So I guess just the years of stress had finally caught up. And so within a span, so I was 14 at the time, so within a span of kind of 4 short years, we had to switch trace places. She spent some time in the hospital, and the family decided to send her back to Ghana to recover. So she went back to Ghana, and then I moved in with an uncle of mine who had recently come to the States. I went to Old Dominion University, so I stayed with my uncle throughout my high school years. My uncle was very strict, African uncle, who I remember he told me, so I was an athlete, I played sports growing up, played soccer all my life, and he told me, if you ever get a C, you're you're off the team. I was playing varsity as a freshman, and so I remember getting all A's and 1 C. And I'm trying to hide my report card from my uncle. And I get home and he, he sees the report card. He's like, "You're off the team." And the coach comes to the house to beg, for my uncle to have me remain on the team, and he's like, "Nope." And he's like, "No, he's very good. He can get an athletic scholarship." My uncle's like, "Nope. I want him to get academic scholarship, not an athletic scholarship." So I'm off the team, and we had a contentious time through my high school years where I wasn't, my teachers would tell me I had great potential to be a leader, but my uncle wanted me to come home right from school and study or babysit his kids, and whatnot. And so my high school years were very contentious, right? Not being with my mom and staying with my uncle who wouldn't let me explore kind of, the depths of my leadership potential. So once I made it to college, I was just like, I felt like I had escaped out of prison and I was gonna go to college, not to like party it up, but like to get involved in student organizations, right? And to try to be a leader and to see if, what my teachers were saying was really real. And so my college years was when I really came to really kind of, and I'm a person of faith. I grew up, my auntie in Ghana was a minister. But when I got to college, really came to like try to figure out my own life and get my own sense of faith and what I believe, right? And what my life was going to be about, what I was going to accomplish. And so did a lot of great things at Old Dominion University. By the time I graduated, I was student body president. I had started the largest community service organization on campus. I was a resident assistant and an orientation counselor. And I had been accepted into William & Mary Law School, which was the nation's oldest law school in Williamsburg, Virginia. And also won the Kaufman Prize at our school, undergrad, which went to a graduating senior who had exerted exceptional influence on the university and its students. And it was a $10,000 prize. So I took some of that prize money and went back to Ghana to visit, and this is my auntie who raised me practically when I was there. And so went back to Ghana to visit, and then got to see my mom, and then also got to meet my dad for the very first time. So that's my dad right there. And turns out my dad, there's the American dream and then there's the American disappointment, right? So if you feel like some place is heaven, if you feel like money grows on trees in that place, and then you actually get there and that's not the case, there's that disappointment and how different people deal with that disappointment, right? My mom kind of put her head down and tried to work as hard as possible. My dad, unfortunately, got tired of driving taxis or, mopping floors and got caught up with the wrong group of folks. So late 80s, early 90s, and the war on drugs and drug trade, and so got into this drug trafficking game. And he actually got arrested in the early 90s at JFK at the airport. He was on a plane down headed to Canada, and him and a few friends of his, they had cocaine and heroin and all those things, pellets that they would put in their shoes, would swallow some, right? So they were busted on the airplane. He had to go to prison, and then after he got out, he was deported back to Ghana. So when I got there in 2008, summer 2008, he had recently returned and was trying to stitch his life back together. It was great being back in Ghana. I saw myself and all the kids I came across. It was just amazing. And just also, I had this feeling of survivor's guilt almost, right? Because it was like, Ghana is still a third world country, right? And I'm now back, I'm older, I'm seeing the place with a new set of eyes. And so, so it was tough to consider my prospects versus the prospects of the people that were there, or classmates that I'd known who, right? The second week I was there, I saw one of my classmates begging for money on the side of the road, right? And that was crazy to me. And I couldn't make any excuses about, oh, I was smarter than him, I was better than him. He was, just as smart, or I was any better than he was. And so really started pondering, like, the implications of this American dream, and different folks, and how do you actually, live out and achieve your full potential. So this is me and my dad on the last day that I was there. He saw me off to the airport, and this is a picture from, so this is 2008, and this is a picture from 2014, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But that's a picture of my dad, and those are that's heroin and, packets in his shoe. So, I went off to law school, and I'm running out of time. I want to get to the meat of this, so I'm just going to skip over a lot of different things. I went to law school, Will and Mary, got a chance to go study in China when I was in law school, so studied abroad for a whole summer in China. That was amazing. So some of my friends, my closest friends in law school, most of them went on to practice law. I, on the other hand, was like practicing law for the birds. I don't think I'm going to do that. And I wanted to see if this American dream is real. If it's going to be real for me, I want to make sure it's real for as many people as possible. So I became a kindergarten teacher in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So that's how I ended up here. Taught these wonderful, brilliant young minds in North Tulsa. Arrived in 2013 here in Tulsa. And I learned so much from them, probably learned more from them than they did from me. They were amazing. And then I taught 3rd grade, my 2nd year of teaching. And then also met my wife while I was teaching. Her name is Anika. She came from California, the West Coast. I came from the East Coast, we met in the middle of Tulsa. And we both came here to teach. I went back to Ghana in 2014, and in between my teaching kindergarten and 3rd grade for my best friend Obi's wedding. And it was a wonderful wedding. I was the best man. And it's a quick trip. I'm only there for like 4 days and fly right back so I can be with my kids to teach them. When I get back, my mom sends me a screenshot of the newspaper in Ghana, and I see my dad's picture right on the front page. And apparently the same day that my best friend was getting married, my dad was arrested on an airplane in Ghana that was headed to Nigeria. And it's just eerie how similar the story was from back in the early 90s. So just unfortunate circumstance. And so now he's back in prison, this time in Ghana. I got married and my best friend came back to be my best man at my wedding. This was in 2016. Me and my wife met in Tulsa June 4th, 2013. We got married June 4th, 2016. So that was awesome. The wedding was in Cali, where she's from. It's awesome. Isn't she lovely? And then I went off and did some policy work in Atlanta and in Denver, Colorado. Worked for State Senator Mike Johnston. And then I came back to visit my kids in Tulsa, and that just convinced me that this is where I needed to be. And had opportunity in 2016 to found a school called Greenwood Leadership Academy in North Tulsa. So did that. We were able to open a school that was community-based, trying to bring hope and change the outcomes, economic, educational, and social outcomes for kids and families in North Tulsa. And started off with the youngest learners, pre-K through 1st grade, and every year we're at the grade. This was 100 days of school. Kids dressed up as if they were 100 years. And so it was very cute. And began to really have a great impact. And then I recently transitioned from there. Kind of went into the sabbatical phase to consider what was next for me. And within that time period also then this opportunity came to be an interim executive director at 36 Degrees North. So anyway, that's a lot of talking from me, but that is kind of my story and my journey in pictures really quickly to get here. Cool. Any questions or comments before we move on? Anybody?
How long were you in Denver?
I was in Denver for 1 year. 1 year. 2013 to 2016. Yeah. So, it was a cool time. Alright. So, now, so I want to first kind of talk about my kind of, I guess you can call it beliefs, and thinking about, what guides and shapes, right, the life plan, right? And so I believe that there are 5 essential questions of life, right, that we all have to answer, and that we're all pondering, even if we don't explicitly state them, right? And so the first one is, who am I, right? And so that's the question of identity. Second one is, why am I here? That's a question of purpose. Third one is, where did I come from? That's a question of origin and heritage. And the fourth one is, what can I do? It's a question of potential. And then the last one is, where am I going? That's a question of destiny, right? And I've come to find that these questions are the heart of why people do what they do, right? This is where your ambitions come from. This is why people, it explains a lot of why my dad made the decisions he made, or why my mom chose the path she chose, or why maybe people join gangs, right? And so we are all searching for the answers to these questions because they really drive, right, the meaning that we find in life. And so I implore you guys to really seek to answer these questions for yourself. And so I had to go through kind of a time to really figure out these questions for myself. All right. And then next, another principle that drives this is believe you have to put first things first, right? So what does that mean? That means you have to prioritize, organize, and discipline. And prioritization, a lot of times we see it as, okay, there are 20 things and I have to prioritize, so I'm going to list them out 1 through 20, right? But you have to see prioritization beyond just 1 through 20. You have to see prioritization as I'm going to choose the number of things that I want to do. So, and it can't be 20 things, because maybe 20 things is too much, right? So maybe it's 5 things, right? And then I have to, so prioritization is deciding what to be doing and then deciding what to stop doing or what I'm not going to be doing, right? And a lot of times we don't go through that process of really considering what is worth me doing and what is not worth me doing. What should I stop doing, right? And so once you come up with the things that you're going to prioritize, then you have to organize them, right? In terms of order. And then you have to discipline yourself to focus on those things and to make those things material. So we'll see that play out through the crafting of a life plan also. All right, now in what I came up with, another thing I want to mention off the jump too is that this is my journey. This is kind of my way of doing things that I've come to realize, and so it's what has worked for me. And so hopefully part of what you take from it too is, will this work for you or not, right? Or what is something similar that can work for you, right? Or anybody else, right? So nothing here is gospel, right? It's just something that I found to work for me and could potentially work for you also, all right? And so I call this going 5 for 5. So for me, in finding what my priorities are, I came up with what does life consist of for me, right? And so I believe that these are the 5 areas of my life, right? And that I can fit everything into these 5 categories, right? And so spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, and financial, right? Everything that is in my life can fit into these categories. And this is important because when I go to actually do an audit of my time, my energy, my schedule, and where I'm spending it, I want to make sure that they're fit into these categories. And, if I want to improve my spiritual life, right, what are the things that I'm doing in my spiritual life? What are the actions that I'm taking in my spiritual life? And how can I control that? So it may be different for you, right, in terms of what are the things that you decide are the things that are essential in your life to capture. But these are the things that I've captured in my life. And then, in terms of keys to fruit bearing, I also believe this is a process that we all go through when we are seeking to become our best selves, all right? And so it starts off with our environment. So this is kind of a metaphor for how a seed grows to produce fruit and bear fruit, all right? So it starts off with our environment, right? Our associations, who are we around, what are we learning, right? What are all the different things that are influencing us, right? And exist within our environment. Second is a moment of isolation, right? A season of really finding time to be with yourself, by yourself, right? If you picture a seed, when you want a seed to grow, you have to plant it, or you dig a hole in the ground and plant that seed there, and that seed is in isolation by itself, and it needs that time to grow. And then the seed has to die to itself, right? And in order for it to grow. And so that's the death season, which is, kind of self-discipline. And then germination, right? Finding motivating sources, right? To be continually feeding yourself, to grow and develop. I'm going somewhere with this. 5 is water. So, what is your development program? How are you growing as you're seeking to bear fruit and get to where you want to get to in life? 6 is fertilizer. What's your refinement program? How are you refining the skills that you already have to make them better? 7 is sunshine, which is special networking in the sense of, right, who are you around that is feeding you, that is connecting you with other people to help you grow. 8 is prudent, which is kind of managing the people and challenges that will come along. 9 is time and accepting the process. And 10 is patience and delayed gratification. Okay. So, and this stuff will make sense. And so then I also think about the world in terms of systems that run the world, all right? And so as we're seeking to make a difference in the world and figure out our space in the world, this is how I'm thinking about the different possibilities that exist, all right? And so you have the world of politics and government, you have the law, legal system, you have business, commerce, you have finance, education, media, sports, arts, health, social relationships, all right? And so really this is a process of figuring out who you are, who you're becoming, understanding the world and how it works, and how you fit into that, right? And where you want to actually make a difference and have an influence. And then the 7 keys to influencing the world, right? You have knowledge, which is wisdom and expertise, people power, political power, wealth, control, ownership, specialization. And so, if you want to influence people, you can become an expert, you can have wisdom, you can have a lot of knowledge that will give you influence. I see these things almost kind of feeding into each other. You can use knowledge to build a platform and actually be able to, more people you influence, right? The more people power you have, that can turn into political power and power of decision. People with political power making decisions that affect all of our lives, right? Another way of influencing the world is through wealth and riches, or controlling the different systems that govern our world, right? Through ownership of property. I also added specialization, creating all the other 6, in the sense that my belief is that it is better to, instead of being a generalist, it is better to decide what is your specialization, what is the thing that you can do best, and focusing on that. And in being able to do that, you can then be able to create all of these other things. Okay, so I want to get those out of the way and then get to talking about my strategic life plan and these documents. So if you look at the first document, the blueprint starts off at the top, the kingdom of God. I kind of want to explain to you what I was thinking, and then also get you to hear from you and get you to ask questions. So the way I'm thinking about this, start off with this document, this blueprint, and you have to start off with what is my authorizing principle. And what I mean by that, for me, is that how am I seeing where my authority is coming from, right? Or what is animating my life, right? And so for me, as a person of faith, it's the kingdom of God, right? I believe that I was created by God and have a God-given purpose. And so I'm basically putting myself on the map, right? This is where I am, right? There's a creator, he created me, put me on this earth, gave me a purpose, right? So I'm locating myself there, and that's my authorizing principle. So my belief is that, right, God rules heaven and earth, and he wants to impact earth with, right, his purpose, and I am a vessel and a tool to make that happen, right? Now, that's just it's like anything when the founding fathers of this country went to write the Constitution, they have to find where the authority came from, right? It used to be that they were under the authority of the king of Great Britain, right? And so in the Constitution, they kind of switched that authority to, right, authority being from God. Or if you're an organization and you start an organization, right, you have a board, right, that is authorizing you to do what you're doing. And so that's kind of the element I'm putting here. Thinking about what's your authorizing principle, right? And it could be yourself, or it could be your family. You know, it could be whatever, but that kind of roots you and gives you a foundation for why you're doing what you're doing. And then so for me, then I also talk about my my mandate, what I believe my mandate on this earth to be, which is to be fruitful, which is, you know, be productive, produce something, right? Number 2, multiply, which is reproduce what I produce. 3 is replenish, distribute that. And then 4 is subdue in terms of dominating my domain. All right? And so that's what's animated what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be productive. I'm trying to produce more of whatever it is that I'm producing, and make sure I'm making a difference to as many people as possible. And then I go about and answer the 5 questions for myself, right? And so who am I? And see myself as a leader. Where did I come from? I come from the Spirit of God, the Father in heaven, through an African in America. So to be specific in that way. Why am I here? I'm here to build a society where everyone has the opportunity to achieve their potential. What can I do? I am a world-class leader. I can become a world-class leader. And then where am I going? I'm going to the ends of the earth to make a difference in people's lives. All right? And so from there, then you go to your purpose. And then being able to actually state your purpose. And there are a lot of different tools to use to come up with your purpose. I believe that you have to state it in like 10 words or less. There's a great site called Imperative, so imperative.com. And it's an amazing tool to really help you kind of put your purpose into words and answer certain questions that will get you to actually manifest what your purpose is, who you're trying to serve, how you're trying to do it, and your why. I love this quote from Miles Monroe: says, "Success is the completion and fulfillment of the original intent or purpose for your existence. And so we kind of have to see ourselves that way and our lives that way. Like, how do we measure success? When I become interim executive director for 36 Degrees North, my first question is, like, what's your purpose? Like, what are you guys trying to accomplish, right? Because success is found in being able to accomplish that purpose. And it's interesting how often we fail to think about things in that way. And so the same thing, the reason why you need to understand your purpose is because that's what defines success for your life, right? Success for you isn't based on comparisons to other people. It isn't based on like what society thinks is success, unless that's what you want it to be. If you don't define your purpose for yourself, then society's gonna define that for you, right? Or you're gonna figure out, I think we all have a purpose, we all have a defined purpose. Not all of us know what we've defined that purpose to be, right? So some of us, like my dad, probably his purpose, he wanted to be rich, and he hadn't defined it on paper, but his actions, proved it to be that way. Some of us, we want to prove our parents wrong, or we want to be better than the next person, right? And so it's important for us to really search our story, search our own souls, and ask the important questions and define what does success look like for me. When I'm on my deathbed, right, what is gonna get me to feel like I lived a purpose-filled life and I accomplished what I was on here to accomplish. All right, and then you want to talk about your brand. So your brand is kind of what sets you apart, right? What do you want to be known for? And we'll talk about this a little bit later too, about kind of career success, and how in order for you to be successful, like I believe, there are 8 billion people on this planet, and none of us have the same fingerprint. Right? We all have unique fingerprints. And even in business, you realize that in the marketplace, your success is found in having a unique value proposition, right? That is set apart from others, and people know what to expect from you when they come to you. So what is the brand for you? When you're in an organization, when in your friendship, in your family, whatever it is, like what sets you apart, what makes you different. So that's the brand. And for me, I define that as authentic leadership. And what is it and what do you want it to be, right? What do you aspire for it to be? And then you also have your creed, which is, right, what you live by, the belief that you live by. All right, and then we go down to my values. And this is very important. My values are about what do you value and prioritize when your time, energy, and resources are at stake. So this is not just any values that are just like nice to haves, right? But what is truly important to you, right? That you're willing to put your time, money, resources at stake for, right? So for me, it was, I made it an alliteration of 3 L's. So Lord, Lady, and leadership, right? But it was defining my faith in God was like very significant for me. And I see it as helping me to be a great person and helping me to live a purposeful life, right? So that is a big value for me. So I listed that as part of my values, right? And it's gonna show up later on, right, when I'm going 5 for 5. 2 was my relationship with my wife, right, and being a great partner. And so that is a great value for me too. I wanna invest time, energy, and resources, right, into that value of mine. And so I have to state that. And then lastly was leadership and how I was defining kind of my career trajectory was gonna be around leadership, right? And so I had to focus on becoming, and I want to be a world-class leader. So I have to be willing to invest time, energy, and money into my leadership, right? And I think it's good to have 3 to 5 values, or as many as you think you can actually put time, energy, and resources behind. But it's important to state, what those values are, and define that. Okay, I'll pause real quick right there. Any questions so far? Or any thoughts that are going on?
How do you recommend finding
So tell me more. What do you mean finding a creed to go with your brand?
Yeah, so if I know what my brand is,
Right.
if I know what my personal
Right.
motivation is,
Okay.
I'm having trouble thinking of how I can word that as different from just what the brand is
Right.
as a creed itself.
Creed itself. I think creed is like, so for me, for my example, right, it's almost like a something that you say to yourself whenever you're in a tight spot, right? You're in a tighter spot, maybe, God forbid, you're about to divorce, right? Get a divorce, or something down in the dumps, right? What is the thing that you say to yourself in that moment, right? That defines and animates who you are, right? And how you believe yourself to be able to come out of that space, right? So it's kind of like what you live by, right? This is my credo, right? Or if you're an organization and you're about, let's say you're Whole Foods and you're about healthy foods, right? And so you come up with a creed that has to do with health, so that if ever there was a time where you have to make a tough decision about, right, price or any other values, like that creed animates who you are and kind of makes the decision for you, so that's what I mean by your creed. And so all these things are important because they're gonna set the stage for like where you want to go, right? And a lot of times these are the aspects that people overlook, right? Like, but if you don't consider these things, it's gonna be hard to put a plan forth that's meaningful to you, right? And we're gonna end up, so really where we're going is like we have this blueprint, and then we're gonna kind of define a path for where we're trying to go. And then we're gonna end up with a schedule, right? Coming up with a schedule that actually manifests, our day-to-day life in actions, right, that are related to who we are, where we're trying to go. And so part of what will keep this document alive and motivational and keep you on the right path is if you do this work first, right? Then it becomes very meaningful and it drives everything you're doing. And then you can always come back and revise it, right? So like I said, I began this journey when I was 20, 12 years ago, and it's been a living document, and I'm always revising it. I'm always, coming back and saying, okay, what should I reconsider or keep going? All right. Okay. I think I'm gonna mix. I was gonna do kind of go through the document and then kind of give you a chance to, do your turn. What we're gonna do is kind of blend the two. So you have similar document but without my stuff on it, blank stuff. And so I want you to start writing when anything comes to mind, especially in this area. So going 5 for 5. So back to the 5 for 5 that I chose. I said spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, and financial. You might choose different things, but let's go with mine for now, right? But I want you to think about in your spiritual life, in your physical or health like life, in your intellectual life, in your relational life, and your financial life, right? What are the things that are absolutely necessary that you want to do and accomplish in those areas of your life, right? And I want you to kind of write those things down. And the more specific you can be in terms of kind of like actions you want to take, the better. Now you might change these things. It might, I put family, so family stuff is in relational, right? Or social, you can put there. I don't know, what else might you come up with? But these are the things that if you were to take your schedule or you just think about your time in your life right now and all the different things that you do and the things that are important to you, right? And try to fit them in just 5 categories, right? And that's all you have, because we're gonna get to a place where the things that live in your schedule are in these 5 categories, and nothing else can live there except for things that fall into these 5 categories, right? What are those 5 categories for you? Yes?
Where do you consider professional goals in this 5 for 5 structure?
Yeah, so for me, intellectual is where I put that, right? But it can be different for other people. So for me, I see my professional goals being in an intellectual. And think of these also as more, not even goals, but like actions, right, that you want to take. And so if in your professional life, the actions that you're taking are intellectually based, right, you're putting it there. Maybe they're physical, based, so you put them there. Or maybe they're actual financial, right, so you put them there. Or if those categories don't sound right, you can change it, It's okay to have like, you can maybe make professional a category for you, right? For me, it lives in intellectual. And so I'll talk through this a little bit. So for me, spiritual, I know in order for me to have a kind of robust spiritual life, I have to have quiet devotional time every day. I have to, remember the Sabbath for me is like, I have to get my rest, to make sure I'm getting rest. And then I have to attend weekly worship, all right? And so for me, it's simple, and the simpler, the better. And so those are the things that I'm putting in my spiritual. And physical, it's about when I wake up and when I go to bed every day, because it ensures that I get a good night's sleep, and I'm ready for the day, get my hair cut, I'm good. Exercise, drink, water, maintain a healthy diet, right? All the different things that are like goals for you to become, better and engage in the right behaviors. And intellectual, reading is big for me. Reading newspapers, reading books, and then continually life planning. And then relational, I've really reduced it to like my relationship with my wife. That's like a huge goal for me, to build a great marital relationship. And so that's what I focus my relational goals on. And then financial, I have some financial goals there too. And then within each of these, I usually take certain seasons of my life and actually break out and have like a step-by-step plan within each category. And so I did one for financial, right? And so for financial, I actually have a step, 10-step process. And these are things I put on there that were gonna be like financially significant for my budget. As y'all know, getting married is one of those things. And so you actually list them out step by step, and you put a deadline on there. And so you can do that for any of these things. And it's part of getting to the place of having control over what you want to do. Okay, so I want to move quickly to, so the rest of this, after you go creed, then your values, go 5 for 5. For me, I also have in my plan, reading was a very big thing for me. And so I actually have my books to read list, and my books I've read list was very significant for me, because that's how I saw my growth and development, all right? So if I was an athlete, I look at athletes that I look up to, and I'm like, the best athletes are gym rats, right? That's what they call them. And so I was like, I'm gonna be a bookworm, all right, in that same sense, to become, right, the best that I was capable of. And so that can be different for you, but determining that and tracking that, and that was very motivational for me. And my goal was to read 300 books in 10 years, over the course of 10 years. And I was able to achieve that. But tracking them was very important. Okay, and then the next next tool, the next document is the path, which has also been very instrumental for me. And that is just about, once you kind of determine what your brand is and right, what your gift is, the thing that you're shooting for, what your value proposition is that you bring into this world, right? Kind of I call it retracing your steps and then charting your path, right? So I kind of went back to the time I was born, right? Just retrace, all the different significant times. When I was born, what hospital I was born at, right? I went to primary school, I was in middle school, undergraduate, the jobs that I held afterwards, the activities I engaged in afterwards, right? And started to see my journey and my path. And that exercise and process itself was very illuminating, right? Because one, it gets you to kind of see the through line in your life, even if you haven't been intentional. You get to see that there kind of is a rhyme and reason, and there are certain themes that come out of your journey. And then you get to decide how that informs, right, your path moving forward. And so I think that's a really great activity to do. And then, continue to track it in real time, So where am I right now, right? I'm interim executive director here, and then where am I going, right, in the years ahead? And to what extent can I, right, try to plan ahead and lay that out in terms of where I want to be? And so I'm going beyond just having an aspiration and a goal to making it very specific, right? And putting dates on it, how old I'll be, and maybe those may not be the things that you want to put to it, but whatever is meaningful for you. So it helps me to think about, dates, how old I'll be, and what role I'll be in, right? And so I think that is very awesome for you to do all the way up until your death, right? And what age, if you have to choose, death is maybe not up to us. You have to choose, right, when you die, stating that there too, all right? And then for me, I always put at the bottom, note, subject to change by the will of God. Just knowing that I have to be flexible through all this, and it's subject to change. Now, my ideal path, this might be helpful. The way the framework I came up with for thinking about my ideal path was kind of when you're born, you go to kindergarten through about 22, you're going through schooling. So you're going through formal schooling. And then from 22 to 32, I really see it as kind of exploration phase, right? So real world exploration, experience, travel, if you want to do grad school, whatever it is, right? You're exploring all the different possibilities, you're engaging your curiosities and all different things, all right? Because 32 to 40, you're gonna kind of get to be in a place where you have to kind of choose, right, what particular field you're gonna be in. And you're going to be called on to provide answers and solutions to problems, right? Intractable problems a lot of times, right? That we're trying to solve. And you have to be creative in these problems. And that exploration phase of exploring a whole bunch of different things that were seemingly unrelated is actually going to help you come up with those creative solutions, right? Because that's what creativity and innovation really is being able to take ideas from, right, other fields and apply them to fields that we weren't even thinking, right, were related. And in 32 to 40, you want to be kind of thinking about a particular field, because 40 to 60, for me, as I was thinking, I want to be in a high-level leadership role within my chosen field, all right? And so 32 to 40, I'm getting that kind of relevant experience and development within that particular field. And then after the leadership in my chosen field, then 60 to 70, I'm kind of descending and landing the plane. I'm engaged in philanthropy and grooming the next generation of leaders. All right. That may not be you. I mean, you may at 60 or 70 say I'm still on the upswing, right? And then 70 to 90, you relax, rest in peace. So I think it's also good to kind of frame what's my ideal framework for my path and where I'm trying to go. And then I have some questions for the course that are good to think through for where, if you can answer these questions. Do you know where you want to go? you know what you want to achieve? You know the desires of your heart? If you set a course to take you to your dream, are you still on the course you set? Is the course you're presently on taking you to your destiny? Are the things you're presently doing leading to your dream? Have you been detoured or distracted from your course? Are you satisfied with the course you're on? So these are questions to kind of always come to reflect on, hey, am I still on course? You know, do I need to change something? Did I make a detour? Is the detour gonna still get me where I need to go? And so it's a constant thing of always reflecting on that. I want us to go to the, so schedule. So this is how you actually make all the work you've done prior, right, manifest. It's a quote, you'll never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret of your success is found in your daily routine, right? And so, no matter what you come up with in terms of who you think you are, what your plans are, what your brand is, what your purpose is, where you're trying to go, you have to make it manifest, and it has to impact what you do on a daily basis, right? And so that's why I think keeping the schedule is so important. And so this is schedule I came up with for me. So basically just Monday through Sunday, from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, right? Like you want to capture all of that. You capture your life in this document, right? And you are capturing the categories that you came up with, those 5 categories of me, spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, financial, and then I added sleep into it. And I am kind of maybe do an audit of your schedule right now to figure out how you're spending your time in the first place. And then think about how do I actually want to spend my time in light of what I said was important to me in the categories that I came up with, right? And so for me, right, you see the activities in the categories, right, are related. So there's devotional, there's church, and then there's Sabbath, rest, right? In physical, there's grooming and eating, walk, workout, golf, haircut. Intellectual, there's work, there's reading 3 times because I had them specifically listed out what I was reading that I wanted to have from you, so I didn't put that in there. And then there's relational time, right? Financial time, right? And so this gives you a great sense of control because one, you can start off with just doing an audit of right now, what does my schedule look like? How much time am I spending in all these different areas? And then, do I think this is the right breakdown? Do I want to change the breakdown, right? And there's no right or wrong answer, it's just up to you and what you want it to be, and also what season of life you're in, right? And so I'm constantly updating this and changing this, and I'm looking at the breakdown. There's certain times where intellectual is the most, there are certain seasons in your life where relational or family will be, up there. But the biggest thing about this tool is it gives you control of your life. So if I wanted to become, I said, forget it, I want to be Tiger Woods. And I want to be the best golf player that ever lived, right? And I'm going to dedicate, so important to me, I'm going to dedicate my time to it. I can come in here and make that happen, right? And so all this work stuff can become golf, right? And I'm playing golf all the time, right? Trying to become the best golfer that I can be, right? If my wife ever says, baby, we're not spending enough time together, right? And I think, we need to fix that, whatever, right? I can say, okay, like, this is the time I'm spending with my wife, and maybe I need to, increase this time or decrease, right? So.
Does your wife have a similar schedule in terms of the format and the way that she goes about it? You guys coalesced on that?
Yeah. So, yeah, she was resistant to this because this is unnecessary, this is too much, and she was offended that she was even on the schedule. Like, you're gonna pencil me in, but she's come to see the wisdom of it, right? In the sense of, you kind of already have this. It's just that other people are controlling it, or like you not actually controlling it intentionally. It's being determined for you anyway. So this gives you control, right? And then you can advocate for yourself. And so she also kind of has a similar thing that, but she's not a stickler to it. But we have a board in our house where we put our schedule on there, so we can kind of coordinate there. And so I think it's very important. And it doesn't have to be rigid, and it's tough. Like, it's also an accountability measure, right? Where if this is on paper, and then you can actually put it in your schedule on your phone, right? To kind of hold you accountable to it. And then you realize, okay, I'm not being able to wake up at 4 every morning, so I need to switch it up and just make it 5 or 6, right? You can be honest with yourself, right? And do that. So I think that is very, very an important tool, and it's really changed my life.
Do you have a template of this? Like, can you send that
Yes,
to
I
us?
can
So,
send.
did you get that from Laura Vanderkam? Go to,
Yes,
go to my168hours.com, it's the exact
Oh,
same format,
nice.
her whole, she does a lot of time management research and time tracking, using time logs that are formatted exactly like this. And she's written several books about looking at your week as 168 hours versus 7 24-hour days.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm pretty
Good.
sure, or if you search for Laura Vanderkam time log, you should be able to find it. And she has it in 30-minute increments and even down to 15, either in Excel or PDF formats.
I mean, when I first saw that, like,
I was
my
very
anxiety is like just
Yeah.
going crazy. And then when I get to like the first things first, like prioritization,
Yeah.
like spending time on that is always gonna go to the back burner because one of my weaknesses, I'm a horrible procrastinator. But that's like right before something happens is when I'm motivated and energized.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna work on that discipline thing, but.
And another interesting thing that I just want to interject, because this whole topic of time has been kind of what I've been working on recently. And it's not just what you do, but when you do it. I don't know if you've heard of the author Dan Pink. He wrote a book called When, The Science of Perfect Timing. And it's about knowing how your body works, because as we go through the day, our emotions and our cognitive abilities fluctuate. And for some people are naturally morning people, or early birds, what he calls larks. Some people are naturally night owls, or evening people, which is where I fall. And so knowing how your body works and when, because I found like even 30 minutes of hard work during your most productive time naturally is worth more than 3 hours of trying to muddle through it when your body's not naturally primed to work that way.
Yeah.
So
No, that's key.
that's pretty
It's
cool.
been a struggle of mine and a challenge because I think I'm naturally a night person in the sense of I was left to my own devices and I didn't have to go to work and like that. I'd probably stay up till like 3 in the morning. But it's also kind of like, yeah, what kind of job do you have and what does that require of you? So, but I also love the idea of waking up at 4 in the morning because it's quiet and I can get stuff done. If I work out and take a shower, I'm awake, and so I can, but I do think it's about what works for you. And even if you're an employer, that's the next level of thinking, what works for your employees, and does it make sense to just have everybody showing up at 7 in the morning? Or are you guys more productive if you just have a 10 o'clock start time and stay till whatever it is, right? And it's really about what works for you and what makes you most productive.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you have a similar system specifically for work? Or,
In terms of,
like goals and yeah.
That's good. Yeah, 36 is actually great. I've been looking for a tool for work that's similar to this, and so there's a book called Traction. That is very great, and it's this whole EOS system that goes through the process of establishing your vision and establishing your goals and your big rocks, and your priorities and all those different things. So we use that over here, and it's similar to this, and it works really well. All right, let's see. So we gotta land this plane. A few words on career success, and then we'll close out. And so, how I also think about career success and kind of how it informs these things. To be a success, you have to become a person of value. So it's kind of, you're not chasing success, right? You're chasing value, and value is something you can control in terms of how do I become a person of value? And I think it's all about self-knowledge, right, and self-awareness. And so once once you decide, you have to find, refine, and perfect your gift. So once you determine what that is, then you refine it until it becomes brighter, right? And then it's always talk about, you know, Jay-Z proposed to Beyonce, and I remember reading that he bought her like $30 million ring. It's crazy. It's like a rock. Cost $30 million, right? But then it leads me to like, you know, I can go outside and get a rock, right? That costs nothing. And then I can have Beyonce's rock, right? That costs $30 million. But the two rocks have been through a different process. One has been through a process of refinement, right? Going through the fire and, you know, becoming rare and unique. And so it increases the value of that rock, right? And that's the same thing when you find like what your proposition is and you go through the fire and the furnace and you refine it, that's how you find value, right? In the marketplace, at work, in life. So that's kind of how I define it. And if I do that, I can control that. Then, you know, as the quote says, the world will beat down the path to your doors, right? And so yeah, so the more you invest in yourself, the more others will seek you out, right? And this life is about, can you provide value to others? And if you provide value to others, then it will recommend you to other people, right? Other people will want the same value that you have. Also, heard it put in this way, in terms of personal career value, right? There's intrinsic value, which we all have. There's always supply and demand, right, for your services and what you bring to the table. And then there are the unique features, right, that you can control. So what's your personal packaging, right? What's your appearance? What's your personality? What's your confidence level, your passion? All those different things factor into, right, your personal career value that a lot of times we overlook and don't think about. And then what's your relevant experience, right? So experience that is relevant to whatever company that you're trying to be a part of or customers that you're seeking to serve, right? And then outstanding performance. So those are kind of things you're focusing on. And then, you know, to become, I read this when I was, I think, 18, and it's always stuck with me. But it's like, to become a professional, you gotta study, right, your company and its industry. So you not only know what your specific company is doing, but what are other people in the industry also doing, all right? So you become an expert on what's going on, and you can become a thought leader in that sense. And then you focus on your job and your next career step, right? So you're always seeking to become the best you can be at your particular job, but also thinking about what your next step is. Because you want to be kind of preparing for that next step in your current job, right? And showing that you can take that next step. And then people skills are always, right, the non-negotiable, and people skills, you know, will get you a lot farther. You know, EQ will get you a lot farther than IQ. There's been studies and research done on that in terms of career trajectory and people who are able to, you know, make it in high ranks in all these different industries. It was always about EQ, people skills, more than it was about IQ. And then lastly, the hedgehog concept. Which is like you can kind of try to be like the fox who does a lot of different things and all that, or the hedgehog who focuses on kind of this sweet spot and one thing that he knows how to do, which is defend himself. And so it's about the intersections of what do you care about, what are you good at, and then what pays well, right? Because if you just do what you care about, what you're good at, you might be happy, but you're gonna be poor, right? If you do what you care about and it pays well, it might just be a dream because you're not good at it. And if you're doing what pays well and what you're good at, you may become rich, but you'll be bored and without passion, right? So true joy is found in getting at the heart of the intersection of all those three things, right? Okay, and then last two things. These two questions also kind of really changed my life in terms of figuring out if you're happy, right? So every morning when you wake up and you get dressed and you eat your breakfast, pick up your keys, you drive to work, is this what you want to do with your life? Are you in an industry that you have a passion for? And in that industry, you're working for a company whose product and service you respect, right? And at work, you surround yourself with the right people, right? That you like, you trust, and you respect. Like, that determines a lot of your happiness, and you spend a lot of time at work. So you have to ask yourself, because I know some people are thinking about, do I transition and where do I go next? I think those are very important things to look at. And then the second important question that you ask yourself, at the end of the day, right, when you turn off the last computer and you pick up And so those things kind of animate why it's important to think about all the things that we talked about in the beginning, and plan and take control into your own hands to ensure that that is the case. And then lastly, most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. It's also significant. I think this came from Bill Gates. And a lot of times, if you tell us to plan for a year or make New Year's resolutions, we'll be excited to come up with a lot of stuff, right? But we know those don't last, right? So when we see life as a marathon and we see the big picture, and see that we can actually accomplish a lot in 10 years if we are thoughtful and intentional and plan. And then also, not letting the schedule and all stuff stress you out in the sense of it doesn't have to be a whole bunch of stuff. Like, I think keep it simple and then make a stop doing list, all right? I think that's great. Something like, what do I need to stop doing? Because if you can say no, that makes what you can say yes to that much more plausible, right? So there are a lot of things that we're spending time on that really don't align with our values. They don't align with who we think ourselves to be or what we want to accomplish, right? And we haven't really thought about why we're doing these things. And so yeah. So I know that was a lot. I had hoped it would be a lot more engaging, but want to get in terms of us being able to get with each other. But we got a lot of information out there, and I hope you go home and spend some time thinking through these things and trying to answer some of these questions. And then whatever tools that would be valuable for you to use, and then I'll share my information so that you can also just